We have an update on the latest anti-free speech legislation in Parliament, the so-called online safety bill. Well, the good news is, once again, it's been postponed and delayed. We haven't fully won, but we won a tiny bit of a battle once again. This is the second time that they've decided to delay the legislation. The flagship online safety bill has been delayed for the second time in 4 months. And this is one of those areas which is really fascinating because we have talked a lot on this channel about this online safety bill because it is going to be restricting free speech. There are aspects of it, for example, that they are selling it with good intentions by focusing on some of the good areas. For example, protecting children, which is really weird because on a societal level, the Western world, the developed democracies, so America, here, Canada, France, the big tech technically already have their own guidelines and regulations to an extent, right, to protect children. To an extent. Governments, national sovereign governments themselves already have existing laws in place. All they have to do is just to enforce it to make sure that the big tech are doing what they're responsible for when it comes to protecting children from harm, actual harm online. But that's not the reality. They are already adding something to the bill to do more instead of enforcing the existing laws. But they are selling it. It's a front. They've included the children aspects of it to their legislation so they could come to us and say, look, the online safety bill is basically just protecting innocent people. But in reality, the main aspects of the bill is going against free speech. It's for adults. It's to protect adults against adults based on hurtful and offensive words. They literally had written down the legal but harmful language. So certain words or sentences that there's absolutely no illegality of it, but somebody might be offended on behalf of somebody else in a different continent, and you will be in trouble. We already have issues where you might say something controversial or a joke on Twitter or Facebook, and the Met Police will knock on your door already, right now, in this country, because we don't really have free speech written in the Constitution like America. Imagine how bad it would get, how worse it would get if this online safety bill actually does go through. Now, we have an opportunity right now, as they've decided to postpone it again for the second time, because they are panicking. They are under a lot of pressure, and also they're too busy changing prime ministers every 10 minutes. We have to go with all these campaigns that are fighting against this legislation to make sure we don't really allow them to just randomly do it without the consent of the public. I'm pretty sure if we go around the country, there's a lot of people out there who are not political, so they might not be aware of this bill, for example. But if you actually explain the detail of the problems when it comes to this bill, they will all be against it, unless they are some authoritarian, woke, liberal lefty. They'll love it. They absolutely love it until it happens to them, which is quite funny. It happens all the time. They love cancel culture until they get cancelled, and then they panic. And then they say, oh no, Elon Musk wants to charge me $8 for my blue tick on Twitter. Oh God. First of all, middle class problems. They always happen to be privileged kids who moan and moan and moan. Let's take a quick break. Speaking of privileged kids, I'm going to come back in half an hour and tell you about Prince Harry and Meghan because they took the British citizenship test, and there's a reason they did that. And Harry kind of failed the test, so that's going to be a good video. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Maya Tousi, and we are the media.